All right, something cool here is with Mercury from Priest. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing real good, man. Thank you for being on the show today. And
Thank you.
let's get right into it. I want to talk about the new release that's coming out, Dark Pulse. I went ahead and I gave it a listen. It's kind of like a dance record, but with like a dark theme to it.
Yeah. Glad you took a listen, and we're very excited about this album. It's called Dark Pulse, so it's a bit darker than before what we releases we've done before, and it's a deep dive into the maybe inspired by the Berlin nightlife, where you can find the clubs of any sort, And I lived there for a while, and this is my little homage to Berlin, a city that oozes of dark electronic pulsating beats and some kinkiness going down in the clubs.
Now, how do you transfer that for a wider audience? I mean, not everyone's got to experience those kind of things.
Ooh, it's we don't delve as deep as you might. The actual experiences will go if you're determined to go to some places, you do, but this is like an overview. Maybe it's not as deep
Well,
going
I
as.
know it's not a play by play. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is like in America here, we really don't have that many kind of like the goth clubs and things like that anymore. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so take a listen to this. Maybe you get a hunch of it, and I mean it's also mixed up with cyberpunk and stuff. But we played a goth festival in New Jersey called Dark Force Fest. So there's some there's a movement over in the States, but not as big as in Europe, of course, and especially not in I mean Germany, probably the biggest market that does that kind of stuff. So it's our little but our biggest market is US, so we try to take a bit of Europe and come over to the US and share with you guys.
Now, when I'm looking at this, I mean, you touch on things like addiction
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
song,
yep. Among
things like
other things, yeah, yeah. Some songs have I mean, there's a backside to partying. If you do it too much, then you might get hooked on some stuff or alcohol or whatever. And it's for some people it can be a struggle, to kick it and to get your inner power to move on and move further, go through it. And it touches those subjects a little bit,
now
along with. Yeah.
some of the tracks discuss surviving narcissism. Does that have anything to do with your past with Ghost?
Not in particular. I had other experiences as well. I think many people have experiences when they thought they knew somebody, and then you didn't, and then that person maybe show its true colors, and maybe that's too late because then you're already in a situation that you have to get out of, and you get ensnared in it, and it can be a struggle to survive that. And I there's some other personal experiences. Well, with Ghost, it was a long time ago, and maybe there you can draw some references to that as well, maybe.
Now, how are you doing these days? I mean, I know I've seen in past interviews and stuff that you said you had to go through therapy because of the time with him and things like that. Are you back on track?
Back on track since long. Last time I said that was back in 2000. I referred to a couple of therapy sessions back in 2015, and that's 9 years ago. So it's I moved on a long time ago with that. So it's not fresh in my memory, and emotionally I'm at a completely different place. I don't actually think about those times that much anymore. That's, to be honest.
Now, if there was an ever opportunity for Priest to go on tour with Ghost, would you accept?
Uh, Depends on the paycheck.
So you actually got your start early in music. I mean, I know your parents were touring musicians, and that's how they met. And you've
Yeah.
been actually doing this since what, you were 14 was your first band, is that right?
Yeah, then that's true. Yeah. became bass player in a band when I was around 14 years old. So that's how I started out in the band business. And I think I played in bands constantly since, actually, maybe with a short break here and there, but I always felt good in a band constellation of different sorts, for sure.
When you first started out, what kind of music were you playing?
Pop music, pretty, it was pretty in Sweden at the time. It was popular with, a little lighter pop music like the Cardigans or like Eggstone. There were some bands coming out of Sweden, the Wanna Dies. So it was more on that approach in the beginning. I really love melodic pop music, and there was a band which bass player had quit and they needed another one, and I happened to have a bass at home and could play a little, so I jumped in, and that's how I started to play bass.
Now, I know you talked before that if you weren't a musician, you'd be a movie director. Is that something you still might do? I mean, a lot of them, a lot of musicians do make that jump from either acting or directing.
Yeah, and I talked to a few that made that jump, among others, Spider in Power Man. He started to direct movies now, and of course his brother Rob Zombie as well. Uh, and I have some ideas, but in order to do that, I have to like quit everything with music for a while in order to focus 100% on a movie. Uh, I'm not sure if I'm willing to make that jump right now, because it's a lot stuff happening in Priest and also other music projects right now. So, but it's a dream I have, and I will. You only live once, So that's something I have on my bucket list to actually do a movie. I've directed some videos for Priest, and did some. I went to film school. I made some like short, student movies and stuff like that. And I watch a lot of commentary tracks. So, but it's a dream for sure, and I want to make reality of that. I don't know when and how, but that's a dream I have for sure.
So when you're writing your music and you're writing your songs and the lyrics and things like that, do you ever think to yourself, man, if I expand on this, this would be a great movie?
Yeah, I see a song as a scene, maybe, and an album is a collection of scenes. A movie contains a lot more scenes often than an album contains songs, of course. But if I make 3 albums and I'm able to do that, I think it's the same amount of energy and time that actually goes into writing a movie script. Uh, uh, it's a different process for sure, but I'm fiddling around. I bought the software, Final Draft. It's a script writing software, and I'm fiddling around a little with that. I read a lot of books on how to structure a story, and I watch a lot of movies. I watch movies every day, and I try to watch all the extra material, interviews with the directors, and of course the commentary tracks. So it's something that's alive for sure, and I'm trying to learn it. And I think if you have a good script, it's a big chance that you can actually get it financed. And I have some connections in US. We talked loosely about movies with some people in Hollywood. So it's definitely something I have open and really want to do in the future. But it has to be the right time, and a movie is a big project. It has to be financed right, and so other people have to believe in it, not only you. So it's a process for sure, and in order to make that happen as good as possible, I probably have to quit music for a while. And we'll see when that happens.
Well, you mentioned that you have some other music projects you're working on as well. So does that mean you're going to step out from Priests, or you just something that you're collaborating with?
Yeah, I think Priest is a concept band. It's very visual, and it's even if we're pretty free in how we construct our songs, we can be a bit diverse. We can do ballads, pop ballads, but we can also do pretty hard-hitting EBM sounding tracks. But it's still gotta sound like Priest, and Me, I'm a bit broader than that. So I fiddle around a little in the studio with some other projects actually, and we have some conversations with other musicians that we probably gonna work a little bit with, and it's Priest is a very like lots of energy goes into to make the sound right, you know, everything. So I'm drawn maybe to more punkier stuff where I can just be loose and free and work fast and have that sound also, but that necessarily is not what Priest is about. Priest is more controlled, while I'm tending to experiment a little more with much more punkier, looser, dirtier stuff right now. So I'm very excited about that, and I can write. I wrote a song today, for example, in that manner. So I wrote 4 songs this week. Just to be loose, you know. And it's a good exercise. It's good to have both parts, both to have the super controlled, very, you know, high expectation level, but also to have a project at the side where you can be more loose and free. I think that's it's a good balance to have, and it makes it more fun both ways, you know.
Now, when you start this other project, are you going to take on a new persona?
I may take a step back behind the synthesizers and let somebody else move forward and with another completely different stage presence, I guess. It's too early to say now, but we I have some good friends that's great musicians, and they are prominent in other bands also. So when the time is right, we might reveal something. But it's too early right now to say, because we don't have all the parts in place yet. So, but there might be a little very interesting little electronic punkier project coming up later this year. But too early to say right now. I wish I could, but uh,
Now, do you like wearing the masks? I mean, does that make it more comfortable for you so you can go out in public and not be, no?
yeah, I like that, you know, and it's also at the shows, it can be nice because you have 100 things to think about making the show as good as possible. So it also makes you a bit anonymous, you know, at the venue. Also, some people know who you are, of course, and but you minimize the amount of people recognizing you. Then we go out with masks and do all the signing and photographing, of course, as well. But it's pretty nice to sit down and have a beer and not think so much about being recognized. Yeah, I really like that. I have a bit of paranoia in me also. So not as severe as it have been, but it's always nice to minimize the risk of being noticed. Yes.
Now, how often do you have to change your mask?
Oh, I mean, we have a backup. I have one and a backup, and I try to keep them clean, you know. And it's much better now because we have plastic masks. It's made of a resin, so you can actually wipe it off and have them clean. Before we had leather masks, and you know, after a couple of shows, they get sweaty, and the amount of bacteria in those fuckers, you know. I had big blisters after end of a tour wearing the leather masks actually. So it was we had to get away from that because it was not healthy. And now we have better masks, and they're super sturdy. It's actually car paint on them also, so it's and they're built to stand a 10-meter drop into asphalt basically. So uh, we haven't changed them actually for 3 years, I guess. They're very good. But we're going to change the mask for our next album. We started the process of designing new ones, and we connected with some people and designers and sculptors that's going to help us out with that. But the deadline for that is in about a year or something.
Did you get to keep any of the masks when you were Ghoul?
I don't have any ghost ghoul masks. I kept the base that I had. So I have my bass I had played in Ghost, a black one, which I'm really happy about. So
Now, I noticed you have a handful of shows coming up. You have one on the 17th and a few set for July. Do you plan on doing more to correspond with the album release?
yeah, we toured our asses off for, I mean, up until now, basically. I think for Body Machine, we our last record we toured like 182. We did 182 shows all in all. So we doing one pre-release party now on the 17th in Linköping, our hometown in Sweden. So if you're there, you feel free to come. And we have three shows in Finland. That's actually is we very popular in Finland. Uh, so we're doing three shows there, and then we have a European tour planned for later this fall, and then back to the US of A next spring for a big tour. So that's the plan.
Now, does that get kind of hectic for you? I mean, doing all those shows on the, I mean, you're living the majority of your life on the road.
Yep, it's been a challenge for sure. And during that time, we also moved we moved to another city, and also I had to quit my day job because I yeah, I got the famous ultimatum, so I had to make a choice, and I of course choose priest.
Right, right.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a leap to take, and but we have great fans, and I started a Patreon side, so I actually get a monthly income so I can pay the bills and everything, and which I'm very grateful for, and yeah, we work full on with it. It can be as hectic to be on the road and also have your own record label as we do, and answering emails and keep a consistency when you're on the road. So now we decided to take some time off this summer, and both to record new material, but also to get everything in order with the label, and just sort everything out so we have when we go out on the road again, we can feel like we settled everything we have to settle and get everything in order, so we can think of what we should think of on the road, which is to make a kick-ass show.
See, that's one thing I don't think most people realize that musicians today, a lot of them do have actual jobs in between the touring and things like that because
Yeah,
people don't pay for music anymore. So, I mean, putting out an album, you're not getting what you used to because they're not actually buying they're not buying a physical copy usually unless they're at a show or things like that.
yeah,
So a lot of your money's being made from you have to constantly tour and sell the merchandise and play the shows
yeah,
and that to make this a living these days.
of course. It's I mean, the merch is so important, the merchandise which you sell. That's uh, and having your own record label as we do, then we actually get a little bit more of the income into our pockets. But if you release an album and you're a band, you're four people in the band or something, you release on a label, and you have to have your regular jobs still. You can't get, I mean, depends on how much you sell, of course, but it's a big machinery also. If you grow bigger as a band, then you would have a management connected, and a record label connected, and a booker connected, which means, and a manager, maybe. So maybe of all your income, there's a big chunk that goes out to other people than the band. And so if we're in a pretty good spot right now. We're not super big, and but still as big as we can actually make a living out of it at the moment. And it's a pretty nice spot to have, because if we grow bigger, then we must look into employing more people, and make a bigger machine out of it. It's a pretty good size right now of the band. With that said, of course, we want to grow bigger and do bigger shows, but we do it a little at a time here. So we try to have total control over everything we do right now. And with that said, we're not on a big label, so we don't have the muscle like a bigger bands have. They can grow big overnight because there's a lot of money behind them and knowledge that a major label can have. But for us, it's really good. We're learning a lot, and I think it's a good way to go. And we're building a legacy. Maybe will be around in 500 years, and it's now we do the foundation for that to happen. So we're not gonna be. We can do whatever we want, and that's a good feeling.
Now, I know touring is different here in the States where when you're selling your merchandise, the club gets a kickback and things like that. When you're overseas in different countries, does that work basically the same way or no?
I mean, if we go touring US, for example, we print merch, so we have it ready when we come over to the US. And also albums. We have some contacts in Los Angeles at the moment, so yeah. So, and if otherwise we print in Sweden and bring it with us. At some points with the Brexit and the UK, we had t-shirts printed in the UK, so we could have them when we arrived in the UK, because otherwise you have to pay for a carnet, and that, yeah, everybody who's touring Europe knows what that is. So it's a bit different and a bit tricky sometimes, but if you plan ahead, then it's not rocket science. If you just plan ahead, then you can solve all those issues if you want to. But it's a bit of it's part of the work for sure.
Now, with the new track that just got released, Black Venom, is there going to be a video attached for this?
Yeah, there is actually a video out right now for Black Venom. Uh, it's on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Priest Official, and it's made by. Actually, I directed it, but it's also a guy connected, a visual effect guy called Torbjörn Fernström, which is amazing. That made the visual effects, and it's a really nice little trippy video. So check it out on YouTube if you already haven't. I can highly recommend it. It's one of the best we ever done.
Well, people are watching, they want to follow up, they want to see your videos, get the music, see the tour
Awesome.
dates. Where do they go? Where do they go for everything?
They go to priestnexus.com. It's our webpage, home site, priestnexus.com. And there you can find all the links to our social media, to the videos, our new releases, tour dates, upcoming tour dates, old tour dates, everything you need. Also press material like photos and logotypes if you need that. Check that out. We also have a web shop called airghoul.com, where you can find the t-shirts, all other goodies, pins. We're also going to have some rare editions of Dark Pulse coming up after the 17th, because we're going to bring those to sell at our pre-release party in Linköping, and those editions we don't sell out of there, we're going to put out on airghoul.com. So check it out. It's going to be a lot of cool stuff there.
Perfect, man. All right, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and hopefully I
Thank
get
you.
to catch you sometime next year when you come back to the States.
Would love to. Thank you so much for having me once again here, and really nice talking to you. Thank you.
You too, man. Take care.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye.
Take care.